problem, and then he gets frustrated when he doesn't have the players around him that can do that to make shots like he do. Kevin Durant went to a team that already had shot makers. You know what I'm saying? So he was already on a team in Oklahoma City where I thought they were pretty good too. He just probably couldn't get along with the guy with Westbrook or whatever. I don't know what happened over there, and he chose to come to a team that had won a championship and did it. That's his prerogative. I don't care. You know, but what I'm saying...
Gary Payton just dropped a bomb nobody was expecting. The Hall of Famer unloaded on LeBron James and Kevin Durant, calling out an issue that's been simmering quietly for years. His words are already sending shockwaves through the basketball world. When a legend like the Glove steps forward to defend the pioneers who built the game, it's clear the line has been crossed. This isn't a cheap headline or a throwaway opinion. It's a direct challenge, one that's forcing fans, players, and analysts to choose where they stand.
My whole thing is this. Forget the Jordan LeBron comparisons per se. I've never seen Jordan run from a defensive assignment. In my opinion, I don't want to use the word running because I'm not trying to disrespect LeBron. But I will say this. There have been many, many occasions where I would have liked to have seen him accepting the tougher defensive assignment, and that is not something that he has been prone to do. If anybody would know whether or not that statement is true, it would be you, GP. Your thoughts?
January 2025 was the breaking point. Gary Payton sat down expecting a laid-back chat about the NBA, playoff races, who was surging, maybe a few old war stories. The kind of conversation he'd done 100 times before. Then the tone changed. The 9-time All-Star, a man who built his legacy by getting inside opponents' heads and shutting down the best of the best, stopped holding his tongue. And when Gary Payton decides to speak freely, people listen. This wasn't a routine debate about eras or styles of play. It was personal. For a long time, months, maybe years, Payton and other legends from the 90s and early 2000s had watched a pattern form. Today's superstars, especially LeBron James and Kevin Durant, had been taking subtle shots. Nothing explosive, just quiet dismissals. Hints that the old game wasn't as tough, wasn't as advanced, and couldn't compare to the modern NBA. Most of the legends let it slide. A head shake here, a vague tweet there, but no direct confrontation. They didn't want to light the fuse on a public war. Gary Payton was different. He never has been the type to ignore disrespect. The same edge that made him one of the most feared defenders in league history, the same intensity that earned him the nickname the Glove, was still there. And it was about to be aimed straight at two of the biggest stars in basketball. Every comment about today's game being harder. Every suggestion that past players wouldn't survive in the modern NBA. Every offhand remark implying the competition back then wasn't real. It all kept piling up. By January 2025, Payton had heard enough. That was the moment he decided to draw a line and set the record straight.
It's with you, or just like, I want to continue to expand my game?
That was the main thing, wanting to expand my game. Early on when I came into the league, if I could think about my first 20 games in the league, I felt like I was just catching and shooting. A lot of it was catch and shoot threes, catch and shoot mid-range. I was playing fast.
So you felt it was happening so quick, you just felt comfortable rising up?
That was my game, just shooting. You know what I'm saying, at that point. So that's what
So what did LeBron and Durant actually say to spark all of this? To be fair, neither of them ever openly disrespected the legends. There were no direct shots at Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, or Gary Payton by name. But disrespect isn't always loud. Sometimes it lives in the subtext, the tone, the message hidden inside the comparison. Over the last few years, LeBron has consistently framed the modern NBA as more skilled, more athletic, and more demanding than any era before it. He's talked about how today's players are expected to defend every position, how the three-point explosion has sped the game up, and how the mental and physical load is heavier than ever. In interviews throughout 2024 and into early 2025, he subtly placed his generation in a tougher environment, one that players from the 90s, in his view, never had to navigate. Kevin Durant has been even more blunt. On podcasts and interviews, KD has flat out said that some teams from past eras would struggle in today's NBA. He's argued that the average player now is far more skilled than the average player from 20 or 30 years ago. He's even pushed back on the myth of 90s physicality, suggesting it was more about intimidation and toughness narratives than truly higher-level competition. And on the surface, not all of that is wrong. The game has evolved. Players are more versatile. Skill sets are deeper across the league. But that's where things start to get uncomfortable. Because when you frame it that way, you're also minimizing what came before. You're implying that past championships, rivalries, and legacies weren't as impressive, that they come with a silent asterisk. Fans picked up on it immediately. Social media lit up. Younger fans sided with the modern stars, saying the old generation wouldn't survive today's pace. Older fans fired back, arguing that today's stars wouldn't last a week driving into packed lanes with real physical defense. And it didn't stop with fans. Former players started weighing in too. Some kept it diplomatic. Others made it clear they weren't happy with how the conversation was being framed. With every new comment about how much harder the game is now, the gap between generations grew wider. Tension kept building. And eventually, Gary Payton heard one remark too many, and that's when he decided to speak up. What he said next is where this story really takes off.
Phil made an adjustment where he switched Scotty, a bigger guy, on me to stop me from posting up and going at him. And then Michael got very upset about that because he wanted to take the challenge, which I knew he would want to. And that's what made the difference. You know, he didn't shoot the ball very well after game 3. He didn't shoot the ball very well. And then all of a sudden, you know, they made adjustments and they started going to Kukoc and
When Gary Payton finally spoke, there was no build-up and no polite introduction. The glove didn't tiptoe into the conversation. He came out swinging. And he made it crystal clear who his message was for. LeBron and KD need to put some respect on the names of the people who built this league, Payton said in an interview that immediately went viral. They act like we were playing checkers while they're playing chess. Man, stop it. We faced killers every single night. That was just the beginning. Payton broke down exactly why the 90s and early 2000s were as brutal as any era in basketball history. He talked about hand-checking, real physical defense, and a time when defenders weren't whistled for breathing on offensive players. He talked about guarding Michael Jordan, battling Kobe Bryant in his prime, running into Tim Duncan and the Spurs machine year after year. He described a league built on mental warfare, relentless trash talk, and pride, where defending your court meant something. These guys today are talented, Payton admitted. I'm not saying they aren't. But don't tell me what we did doesn't measure up. Don't tell me the competition was soft. Then he went straight at the skill argument. LeBron and KD have both suggested that modern players are more skilled because of how the game has evolved. Payton flipped that logic instantly. Skill? He said, his voice rising. We had to be skilled and tough. We didn't have spacing. We didn't have freedom of movement. We had to create shots with someone in our chest, hands on us, talking trash, trying to break us mentally. According to Payton, today's offensive numbers are inflated by rule changes. No hand-checking, defensive 3-second violations, and whistles that favor scorers. Yet somehow modern stars still act like they're facing tougher competition than the legends ever did. I respect LeBron. I respect KD, Payton said. But the moment you start discrediting our era, that's when I've got a problem. That's disrespect. And I'm not letting that slide. The basketball world froze. Payton didn't just defend his generation. He challenged the entire narrative surrounding modern greatness. He drew a line in the sand and dared anyone to cross it. The reaction was instant. Legends rallied behind him. Reggie Miller reposted the clip with a simple caption, "Facts." Chauncey Billups followed with, "Finally, somebody said it." Even normally quiet former players started liking posts and subtly signaling their agreement. The message was clear. They were tired of being treated like they played in a watered-down version of basketball. But the pushback came just as fast. Several current players, speaking anonymously, dismissed Payton's comments. "The old heads always do this," one said. "They can't accept that the game evolved." Another claimed that players from the past would foul out by halftime under today's rules. Fans went to war online. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every platform turned into a battleground. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about respect, legacy, and who gets to define greatness. Analysts jumped in. Some defended Payton, saying he was right to call out the subtle disrespect. Others argued he was overreacting, insisting LeBron and KD were simply acknowledging evolution, not erasing history. But Payton's comments forced an uncomfortable question into the spotlight. Can the modern game be celebrated without diminishing what came before? Because that's what's really at stake here. For decades, the NBA had an unwritten rule: honor those who paved the way. Kobe honored Jordan. LeBron bowed to Kareem. But somewhere along the line, the tone shifted. Proving your era is better became more important than respecting the foundation. To legends like Gary Payton, that shift feels personal. They sacrificed their bodies. They built the league's global appeal. And now they're watching history get rewritten through a modern lens that downplays their battles. The truth is uncomfortable, but real. Both sides have a point. The game has evolved. Players today are more versatile, the pace is faster, and skill requirements are higher across the roster. But evolution doesn't mean superiority. Progress doesn't erase greatness. Comparing eras will never be fair. Each generation faced its own version of difficulty. Each produced legends who earned everything they got. Payton's message, stripped of emotion, is simple: respect the history. Honor the foundation. Don't confuse evolution with erasure. Whether LeBron and KD respond publicly or let their silence speak remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: Gary Payton made sure this conversation isn't going away. So here's the real question: can we appreciate modern greatness without disrespecting the legends? Or is this divide something basketball will argue about forever? Let me know where you stand. Team Payton or Team Modern Era? Either way, this debate isn't ending anytime soon. And honestly, that passion is exactly what makes basketball what it is. The glove has spoken. And when legends speak, the league listens. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.